Hello everyone, this is Marina from Soul in the Raw, and thank you for joining me. If you're new here, please remember to subscribe to my channel. I have videos every week about vegan food, raw food, and health tips in general, and recipes and things like that. So I've heard a lot of questions lately about how to deal with unsupportive families or parents as a new vegan or even as a veteran vegan. And I think we all have that in our life. I wanted to start by telling you two quick anecdotes from my life about this, and they're very different, and I think there's a lot we can all learn from them. The first one is about my partner's parents, and I've talked about this before, so some of you who have been here before have probably heard this, but his parents, initially when we both went vegan, they were not vegan and they were not so open to the idea. They thought raw food was absolutely crazy and that the whole thing that we were doing kind of came out of left field for them, and it was really surprising and terrifying. And they weren't so much asking us health questions, but it was more about what they were going to make us for dinner when we were coming over. So that was a big issue. And I'm sure many of you are dealing with that because mothers and fathers who cook, hopefully they're part of the cooking, they show you their love by making food for you. And so it's really hard for them when all of a sudden they have no idea what to make for you. And in the beginning, they made fun of us. They didn't really know how to react. It's been 5 years and a lot has changed. And the two of us, my partner and I, we took very different kind of roads when dealing with this situation. For me, I was, kind of more shy around them. So I wasn't really going to tell them, oh, don't make fun of us and this is what you should do, and be more kind of strict with them. For him it was easy because it's his parents, so he kept telling them, oh, your intestines are gonna rot if you continue eating dead carcasses, and he would make like chicken noises at the table and all that kind of stuff. And I just kept bringing food over there. So I would make really good food. I would experiment in the kitchen and I would bring it over. I would answer any questions that they had. I would tell them how much I love this food, how it's not restricting, and how great I felt. And I think in the beginning they thought it was just a fad and it was something we were doing temporarily. And they saw that we kept up with it for so long that they were starting to understand that this is healthy. Then after a while, his mom went to her naturopathic doctor and he told her to remove some animal products from her diet. And that kind of kick-started even more the belief that she had in the vegan diet through this whole journey of ours. And she always kept telling my partner that she was thinking of going vegan because of my contribution of being really patient and nice and bringing food over. And not really judging or making comments, just providing information very kind of pleasantly. So that's one story. And the other story is my grandmother. And it's funny because I was talking to her this morning and she was telling me how when she lived in the Ukraine, she would be so excited when she could bring chicken to the house. It was a big deal, and she would make my mom chicken soup. And there was this really funny story that kind of runs in my family and everybody knows that one day she made chicken soup for my mom, and my grandma and grandpa wouldn't eat from it because it was so expensive, so they just left it for their daughter. And so she left it and told her, just turn on the stove, heat it up and eat it. And instead my mom threw it over the window to the dogs to eat, and my grandma was so mad at her. So she had to go through a lot in her life to actually get chicken home, and she thought it was a big deal, and she still does. She still sees it as food of the rich people, and if you have it, you're in good standing and you're wealthy and kind of higher position in society. And she had a really difficult childhood, and kind of her whole life was really difficult. So that is how she sees it. And those are two very different stories, and I think when I started as a vegan, I was really passionate about it, whether it was through the animal rights perspective, the environment, or the health. And not to say that I'm not anymore, I'm still really passionate about those things. I just think I was really quick to judge people and to get really angry with stories like what I just told you about my grandma and just get really annoyed about it. And I think that it's been easier for me now to see how, this is my grandma's life story and I need to be compassionate towards it because this is her experience and she does not understand veganism. She just really doesn't. It does not speak to her. And even if lately she's been kind of incorporating more vegan foods into her diet, I don't think she will ever be vegan. So it's not something that I should push on her. So the way that I see it is just to lead by example. Again, bring her yummy food that I make and show her how great it is and show her how great I feel, and that's about it. I don't push her, I don't lecture her, because it's not going to work with her. And then my best friend, which is actually a whole separate story, was also really opposed to the idea in the beginning, and she's Palestinian, and like meat is a huge thing in her culture, and she grew up eating meat her whole life. But lately she's been opening up more to the idea, which is really cool, and I think that's also a result of me just not pushing her, and also because everyone is kind of on a journey within themselves, and we have to give them that space for their journey because it doesn't have a lot to do with you. Most of the negative feelings and the really big pushbacks that you get when you present the vegan diet to people is their internal chatter, their internal stuff. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with the diet. Maybe they hate healthy food and they have a big journey that they went through with healthy food and a lot of difficulties around it, or maybe they feel guilty for eating animals but they have no idea how to not do it and it seems really hard for them, so they'd rather make fun of you. So my advice, after you've heard these stories, something that I always say and a lot of other people say, is to serve as an example. That's one thing. So that means think with yourself about what it means for you to be vegan. Get excited about it, share it, be confident about it, don't hide it by any means. Don't feel bad or guilty that you are, around other people, but also don't tell them this is what you need to do. You can tell them this is what I do, I love it, it makes me happy, it makes me feel great, but not this is what you should do. There's a big difference in the language there. And bring food for them and answer any questions that they have, but don't initiate things from your side. And then also feel people out. So with certain family members of mine, I've had conversations where I would tell them, oh, I went to Dr. Greger's lecture and this is what he said, and just very matter-of-factly telling them about my life, and then they turned vegan as a result. So just being really confident in yourself and sharing the information with the right people. And then another thing is know the facts, and this is so important. And don't feel pressured to be like the #1 authority on veganism in the world, but there are some common questions that your family's probably going to ask you, or your parents, and just know the facts. And if you don't, they're probably going to ask you about protein and calcium and iron and stuff like that. Maybe some facts about why you think animals are abused or how veganism affects the environment. And there are a lot of great documentaries and YouTube channels and websites that you can check out to really learn those facts and confidently answer those questions. Now, if you don't know, don't stress. Just tell them, I don't really know. My reasons for going vegan are XYZ. I don't know about this, but I'm going to explore and let you know. And you can get them involved too in watching all those documentaries with you and learning about this if they're open to it. So that's all I have for you on YouTube today. But I have gathered a whole bunch of awesome vegan bloggers to give you advice about this topic. People that have great tips and have experience with this, and they joined me to write this blog post. So I'm going to link it below. Check it out, and of course check out their websites, which are also linked in the blog post, and give them a shout out from me. Thank you so much for joining me this week. This is Marina again. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and I will see you next week. Bye.